Hello, citizens of YouTube land.
Hello. We are excited to tell you this is our 100th video of President and Vice President of YouTube land of the Denny and Son YouTube channel.
Yes, this is a very special occasion, guys. And as always, if this is your first time that you're viewing these videos, if you want to become a citizen of YouTube land, all you have to do is hit that subscription button below.
And we're excited to tell you that we just watched the new pay-per-view from one of our favorite wrestling promotions.
Our absolute favorite.
Yeah, our absolute favorite. Not one of our favorites, but our absolute favorite wrestling promotion, the NWA, which stands for National Wrestling Alliance.
The pay-per-view was Back for the Attack. And to understand the significance of this pay-per-view, guys, it is the first pay-per-view that they have done in almost a year. Because, well, last year, COVID. I mean, what are you going to do, right?
Last year, the last pay-per-view that they did was NWA Hard Times. So, back in January.
Yes, and this is also this is a really special pay-per-view because those of you who watched NWA Power, you may remember a wrestler by the name of Josephus, and then later Question Mark.
We love Question Mark. We knew it was Josephus all along, and then they kind of revealed it as the actual wrestler who played both Josephus and Question Mark. Joseph Hudson sadly died last week.
Yeah, he died pretty recently, guys. So this pay-per-view was dedicated to him. Also, it will mark the return of NWA Power. And
which comes out March 23rd, this Tuesday.
And it's the return of the original theme song for Power, Dawkins Into the Fire. So having said all of that, let's just start from the beginning. The pay-per-view opens up with a fatal four-way between...
No, it first opens up with the promo, or with the hype video of NWA Back for the Attack, which they say that the pay-per-view was going to be dedicated to Joseph Hudson and all the wrestlers that sadly died over the last year from coronavirus.
Yes. And then it segues into a fatal four-way for, well, not for anything really, bragging rights, basically. It featured the wrestlers Jax Dane, Jordan Clearwater, Slice Boogie, and Crimson. And this match was an all-out brawl, pretty much, between the four competitors, with Jordan Clearwater kind of throwing in a little bit of high-flying action, too. It ended with Slice Boogie hitting this, what could best be described as, it started off as a pile driver, and then it ended with like a power bomb onto his knees. And that's how he won the match.
The way they described it was that his pile driver was called the Huge A Pile Driver.
Yeah. It was a pretty solid opening contest to the match. Then, wasn't it the television title that was up next?
No, it was Kratos versus Tyrus.
Yeah, Kratos versus Tyrus. And for those of you who are WWE fans out there,
you may know Tyrus as Brodus Clay. Sorry to interrupt you, Dad.
He was Brodus Clay, and he could also be seen most weekdays now on Fox and Friends on the Fox News channel. So this will be kind of an interesting thing going forward. Tyrus was the bad guy in this situation, and Kratos was the good guy. It should also be mentioned that Kratos is one half of the NWA World Tag Team Champions.
So I should also mention the fact that if you guys don't really understand what bad guys mean, is basically in pro wrestling, there are baby faces and heels, which are commonly referred to by younger fans, good guys and bad guys.
Yeah.
For people who don't really know pro
and this
wrestling.
is one thing that the NWA really excels at, is that old school wrestling feel. The kind of wrestling that my generation grew up with.
Before the Attitude Era
when
had
we
to
were
come
watching
in and mess it up.
in the late 80s, you know, the mid to late 80s, that era with Ric Flair and Hulk Hogan and all the greats from that time period. It's a throwback to that simpler style of wrestling.
Yeah, because with the NWA, there are clear-cut good guys and there are clear-cut bad guys. They don't blur the line with their wrestlers like WWE does now, but I guess you can blame the Attitude Era.
So Tyrus, being a 375-pound man, he drops this massive elbow onto Kratos and ended up picking up the win.
Yeah.
Another solid match. It was a bruising contest between two big, jacked-up dudes.
Yeah. And then the next match would be the NWA Television Championship.
Yes, and it had Tom Latimer taking on the champion, the Pope, D'Angelo De Niro. And this match was another hard-fought contest.
Yeah, they had 10 minutes and 5 seconds, and then in normal episodes of Power, you would actually have 6 minutes and 5 seconds to take the title.
It ended in a draw, which indicates that things are not over between these two.
Yeah.
So we're probably going to see a rematch, which I for one am on board with that.
Yeah, this pay-per-view was more about establishing storylines than it was about concluding storylines.
Yes, because NWA had been on such a roll before the pandemic hit, and, you know, it derailed everything, especially for this little promotion, because that's what they are, guys. You know, the NWA used to be a really, really big thing that, like, literally every pro wrestling promotion was a part of the National Wrestling Alliance. And I should also state that for those of you who don't know, William Patrick Corgan, also known as Billy Corgan of the Smashing Pumpkins, is the one who owns and promotes the National Wrestling Alliance.
Yeah, and there was, I think it was actually William Patrick Corgan who was singing the theme song for Back for the Attack.
Then, after that, we had a women's match between the undefeated Monster Camille versus the Never Say Die Thunder Rosa.
Yeah, and this was also another bruising match. Like, this pay-per-view was full of them. So you had like Thunder Rosa doing backstabbers, and then she was doing arm bars, and
she at one point had Camille across the turnbuckle post,
also known as a bow and arrow,
and had reached her across it and just stretched her to beyond recognition. But in the end, it was Camille that picked up the win with not one but two of her devastating spears.
Oh yeah, they were bone-wrenching. But before that, Thunder Rosa got Camille into another version of the bow and arrow that most people commonly associate with, but it's a very difficult and tricky position to be in because you got to keep bouncing to make sure your shoulders don't touch the mat. Because if that happens, then the ref can start counting, and then you have accidentally lost the match because you didn't keep your shoulders up. So
when you're talking about professional wrestling, there are certain moves and holds that might actually accidentally result in you yourself having your shoulders pinned to the mat, therefore resulting in a loss. So I thought that was an interesting way to kind of show what could have happened there. Now, that being said, we're moving right along here, and up next after that was the National Heavyweight title match.
Oh, yes. This had Trevor Murdoch versus Chris Adonis.
And Trevor Murdoch is your NWA National Heavyweight Champion, and he was defending the title against Chris Adonis. Now, for those of you who might not remember, Chris Adonis is the former Chris Masters of WWE. And this was another big bruising contest. You had the bad guy in this case, Chris Adonis, resulting in he was using old school heel type maneuvers such as eye gouges and back rakes and foot stomps and just
under the belt blows.
That kind of style that you would actually associate probably with an 80s heel. So Trevor Murdoch, on the other hand, was representing this guy as the technician that would eventually out-wrestle you in the end. And that's exactly what happened here. We had Chris Adonis attempting to apply the master lock on said Trevor Murdoch. However, Trevor was able to slip out of it, and the ending result was basically a victory roll combination, which led to the 1, 2, 3. And then, afterwards, you thought, well, I didn't think, and he didn't think either, but the implication was that they were going to show some good sportsmanship. Wrong! Chris Adonis sneak attacks him, then lays the boots to him, then puts him in the master lock. So naturally...
But before he put him in the master lock, he did a full Nelson slam on him, and then put the master lock on him, and then he disrespected him by laying his national championship title belt across him, and obviously establishing a storyline between those two.
So it's an easy-to-follow story to where it's going to go next. You got the bad guy that sneak attacked him, and now you've got the good guy champion wanting revenge for the sneak attack.
Yeah.
Easy.
The next match was actually one of the coolest and most brutal matches in this entire pay-per-view. And it was Aaron Stevens versus the versus the NWA World Heavyweight Champion Nick Aldis in a match that was basically a tribute to Joseph Hudson. And these two just fought their hearts out, guys.
Oh yeah, it was so awesome. The way they put it together, and the way that Aaron just kept fighting and kept fighting and kept fighting.
You know, he got out of the Kings and Cloverleaf. He got out. He
kicked out of the diving elbow.
Yeah.
There were so many near falls, so many close calls, but in the end, Nick, by the skin of his teeth, mind you, was able to reverse a small package into one of his own. So this wrestling match ended the way it should have, with a wrestling hold, clean, and to the point. So Nick Aldis, still your National Wrestling Alliance World's Heavyweight Champion for the 882nd day. Now going into day 883 tomorrow. Guys, I can't stress enough just how tremendous that accomplishment actually is.
Oh, yeah.
Now, I will point out, so that people don't think that we're dumb, yes, we understand that pro wrestling is scripted entertainment. So, we will point that out. We do understand that.
But however, it's just too cool, okay?
However, when you can have a wrestling promotion where you got the clear-cut good guys and the clear-cut bad guys and the storylines that are easy to follow, it's easy to suspend your disbelief. Because for those of you who might watch this and make fun of us for it, we understand these things. But hey, in a movie, if it's good enough and you believe it enough, you believe what's happening. So in that essence, we were able to believe what was happening on the screen.
And the ending of this was just... It was amazing. It was heartfelt, guys. So the way they ended it was they brought out the Mongrovian flag. If you watched Power, you would know exactly what we're talking about here. But they brought out the Mongrovian flag, and then and then Aaron Stevens says, "We love you, Sensei," and then they do the Mongrovian, they do the Mongrovian,
hand
gesture, and that's how they ended the pay-per-view, with all the mainline wrestlers out doing it as well. So it was honestly a sweet ending to an awesome pay-per-view.
Also, I can't stress enough the fact that these two, Aaron and Nick, they, well, quite frankly, they beat the hell out of each other for our entertainment. And there was mad show of respect when the final bell had sounded between the two with the handshake. And I also enjoy that aspect. So, I'll say, my final rating for this, guys, is definitely 5 out of 5. What say you?
Oh yeah, 5 out of 5 as well. Clear cut.
But of course, because we do it in every single video,
you're wrong.
If you think that the NWA is the worst wrestling promotion of all time, and that Back for the Tack was the worst pay-per-view ever, well, you're wrong.
Because that would actually be WWE.
Yeah, they are kind of bad. A lot of times. But, hey, just remember, we're just two idiots with a cell phone camera. Our opinions do not matter, except they actually do, because we have a YouTube show, except they actually don't. So, having said that, guys, we'll see you guys next time around, where we'll probably be back to the Lifetime movies, not sure yet. But definitely we'll get back to the Walker episode reviews and some other stuff that we're going to be getting to.
Walker episode 8 comes out this Friday, guys.
So we'll see you guys next time. And hey, if you really want us to do the Power episodes, we're going to watch them. And if you want us to do reviews on that, we may touch upon that too. Alright guys, so I think that about does it for this 100th video spectacular episode. And having said all that, there's just one more thing to say. And that is, peace and love from Denny and Son. Bye!